Welcome to Eternal Paradigm. Together, we're uncovering human experience by exploring physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual stories. With me, your host, Ermi Ravel. Hi, welcome to Eternal Paradigm. I hope you're enjoying your journey to find you. So we're in 2021 now. Now, I can't make any promises that things have improved on the pandemic situation and that there's a strong possibility that we are still hearing a lot of difficult things and experiencing lots of difficult challenges, anxieties, emotions about things that are just beyond our control. So where I am at now and who I'm talking to in this episode is actually quite refreshing because I'm joined by Shaheda Alidina, and she is a through and through Londoner like me. And I love listening to and connecting with people who have grown up in my town, really. And Shaheda's story, she's incredibly open in our conversation. She is a busy mum of 4 and has decided to focus her priorities in 2021 to really shift on fulfilling her purpose. She's identified what the core of that looks like. And over the last few years, she's been toying with different things, different kind of outlets that she thought may be what she wanted to do. But actually, after trying it out and kind of reflecting on it some more, she's come to some really kind of big decisions and conclusions. But those conclusions are not the final version or the final point of her journey. They're actually the beginning of a really exciting and new journey that she is going to open herself up to explore. So with that in mind, Shaheda, who is just phenomenal, she is like this energy who just doesn't stop. And even when she's speaking, I don't think that you can actually get a full kind of understanding of this immense energy and presence and grace that she has when she kind of comes along. And that's what's so phenomenal about her is I don't think she realizes how much of an impact she really has. And I love this conversation because, we've talked about so many different things. And I love the fact that not only through this podcast, but also just from being born and brought up in London, is that my connections with people have been with people. And that means that I've been able to celebrate their cultural and religious traditions with them. I've been able to learn about them, to be a part of them. And that, I think, takes connection to a different level because you're able to learn so many different things. And this conversation is just an insight of that. So on that note, please let me welcome Shaheda Alidina.
My name's Shaheda Alidina and I'm actually talking from Croydon in London.
Love Croydon in London. So what would you like me to call you? Are you okay with Shaheda or shall I go with Shai?
Shai is fine.
Cool. Cool. So, Shai, tell me a little bit more about yourself. What do you do?
So, I'm now a mother of 4. Some call it a housewife, some call it woman of luxury. I call it neither, really. I am a mum, and a mum is a very hard job that I don't get paid for to raise 4 beautiful souls. Is what I do on a day-to-day basis.
Who are these people that say that you're a woman of luxury?
I have to say, it would be my husband and his friends who just think I have a cup of tea and this is a lie. I do that as well. I'm not going to doubt him for a second, but I am very lucky and fortunate to be able to sit at home and take care of my house and my kids.
That's a big job.
Yes, it's a job that doesn't stop. I probably do it in my sleep as well, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So you said 4 children. Are you okay with giving us their ages?
Yeah, my oldest is going to be 14 in January.
Wow.
My middle child just turned 12, and then I've got a little boy who just turned 5 and a little girl who's 3.
Wow.
Yeah. So I put those together, then I had a nice long gap, and I've got 2 more.
Nice. Well, yeah. I didn't get to 4. I stopped at 3, but I would have had the same gap that you're saying if I got to 4. So the whole point of our conversation, well, not the whole point of our conversation, but we are looking for it. It's a 2021 focused kind of conversation. And it's very much about looking ahead and reflecting on where we've come from. And we were just talking about this before I started recording. So I'd love to know what your intentions are for 2021 and what you've learned from 2020. So if we start with your intentions looking forward, that would be great.
My intentions for 2021 are a number of things. I am this woman who has amazing ideas, not very good at implementing them. So I think I want to start implementing some in 2021. Some being, I would like to do a course, further my studies, further my education, because I think what I've learned over the past year is life is short. Why not go out and do something that I would enjoy? Whether it is my lifelong dream of being a lawyer, I can always go back to school. Now there's online school as well, so it's not as hard. Or I'd like to do interior designing, because whoever knows me knows I like a show home. And I also have seen that everything is getting a bit more technological. So I really do need to go back and figure out Zoom and Excel and my Word and emails and correct formations, because it won't only help me, it will also help my kids when they're studying and they need to upload something. They come to me, Mummy, how do you do it? So it would be great if I could just further my education, but I also spiritually want to grow. I think I'm at a time in my life where my religion, my spiritual well-being has really helped me through some of my darkest times, and there's so much I can learn from it. There's so many books I can still read on it. So why not? There's no time like the present. So that's my plan for January. I'm giving myself a month to get organised and get a bit more proactive with my dreams.
That's amazing. And when you say books, have you already got a kind of a hit list of books in mind?
Not at the moment. So one of them that I started just a couple of months ago was a book called 40 Hadiths. So it's actually an Islamic book written by a great man. His name was Imam Khomeini, and he actually led the Iran Revolution. And his book is basically 40 hadiths, and each one has a purpose. So the one I just studied last night, because there was a lecture on it, was patience, and how you can implement patience in your life, but it will help you as well as a person. It will help those around you. It will just make everyone a lot more happy and more positive if we as people can just instill a little bit more patience in our day-to-day running.
That sounds amazing. So as you're going through, so are there 40 hadiths in the actual book? And you're going through each one, learning from it and applying it to life?
I'm trying to apply it to life. So what happens is that our centre in Streatham, we actually have a speaker, Shaheda A, and he's actually started it off. So he's took out the book a couple of months ago and said, right, every Thursday night I'm going to have a lecture on one of the hadiths, and then you guys can take what you want from it. So I actually bought the book online from Amazon. I was surprised it was quite available on Amazon. And I started following it as well. And I said, right, let me see what I can implement in my day-to-day structure. So it will be simple ones, like it could be, patience is one of them, but there's also stuff to do with like self-conceitness or pride or envy or love of the world. And there's chapters on it, like quite thick, in-depth chapters. So you have to study one and break it down bit by bit to be able to get the essence of it and how to implement it every day.
And it's challenging. Are you finding it challenging?
I'm finding it challenging because I think, because I haven't studied in over, 6 now, so about 20 years properly I haven't studied. It's quite challenging because the English is also quite old school English, and it's got a varied dictionary in it as well. So there's words that I'd have to look up and I'd be like, right, I don't know what this means, I don't know how to apply this. And you keep going back and forth. So it's time consuming, but in a good way, because I'm actually teaching myself something that I didn't know, and it makes me feel better about myself, especially if I've implemented it.
Yes, yeah, I get that. And like the translation, so it's effectively from Arabic to, is it from?
Yeah, it's actually written in English.
Oh, it's written in English.
And he's got some scriptures in Arabic as well.
Yes.
So then you just look up the meaning, or the meaning might be already there, or he's actually explained. So he's taken paragraphs from the Quran as well. Then he's gone on and explained what he meant and what God essentially meant by it. And then you go bit by bit with the book itself.
Thank you for sharing that. I'm going to have to look that up. And you said it's available on Amazon.
Yes, it is, yes.
Yeah, excellent. So you also talk about becoming digitally savvy. And this is one of those things that I think 2020 has been the year of that.
Yeah, it really has. I have to say, I didn't think I was digitally. I just don't know. I thought I knew it all, but clearly I didn't. And it's really, I think homeschooling gave me a run for my money when I had to learn all this new techno with the kids and help them log on, log off, upload. So it's been actually an eye opener.
I'm intrigued as well because you said your lifelong dream is to be a lawyer. I heard that. I picked up on it. Tell me more. Tell me more.
So when I was a little girl, I enjoyed FBI books and novels and the John Grishams, and I just enjoyed reading as a child, and it just used to intrigue me. Court used to intrigue me, and I always wanted to fill this dream of mine to stand up in court and be a criminal lawyer. But as the story goes on and on, I was a good kid at school, I must say, and I had good grades. And I could have gone on and been a lawyer, but my parents, probably no fault of their own, but they were looking at the bigger future. They were looking at, you get married, you have kids, the typical Indian parent wants for their child. So my parents were like, oh no, but maybe you should do like something that you can do part-time. Maybe you should do something, Indian parents, we all like a doctor, an optician, a dentist. And I didn't really push it or pursue it. But even now, having friends who are solicitors, lawyers, they're like, but you can do it. You can become a paralegal, then you can work on up from there. Why not? Your kids are growing up, they don't need you as much. Study for it. Whether you put it into practice or not, at least you've got the qualification. So one of my best friends, she's a solicitor at a high-end company in London, and she always tells me, she's like, follow your dream. What's wrong with you? Do it. You couldn't do it then. You can do it now. You're able to. And everything's online. And COVID's just put everything more online. So I am looking into it. I don't know if I've got the guts to do it because I really don't want to take up too much of my time and then I can't give back to my children. I need to be available for them, which is my purpose in life. My goal for them is to be an avid mum who's always around them, always helping them as much as I can. But I would like to fulfill my dream as well. So let's see.
I'm going to watch this space. And I'm totally with your friend. But I understand what you're saying because it's that fine balance, right? Because even though people say, yes, your kids are growing up, yes, they are, but their needs change at different stages and ages. And sometimes it's hard to just prioritize yourself in that, if that makes sense. I don't know if there's something you feel.
Without feeling guilty.
Yes.
I'll give you a great example of my husband loves to travel. I love to travel. We both do. And I think we both got married quite young. So we used to travel a lot. Even just recently, I took a weekend with him when he had a work trip. And I just felt guilty because I wasn't there with my kids. And he's like, what's wrong with you? I'm taking you away. You got some sun. You got the beach. What's wrong with you? But the thing is, it's because your kids are part of you. And even though they're changing and they're growing up, you just want to be there. Whether it is to protect them, whether it's just to pick and drop or just to hear their story of that day, you just really want to be in their face. But my friends are right. They are going to grow up and leave home and then I'll be left with no dream and nothing. So it's better if I start somewhere and they've given me that push to do so.
That's good. It's good to have encouraging friends.
Yes,
definitely. So tell me, you mentioned the whole, good doctor, good lawyer, good accountant, good, good everything. You also mentioned that you got married young. So did you end up going to be or study to become one of those good doctors or lawyers or?
Study to become a dispensing optician.
There we go.
Done it, and my parents were like, oh, it's a really good career, why not? And you can go do it at uni and then from there you can work part-time, and we have a lot of opticians in the family. So I went on to do it, and as I was doing it, I met my husband, which was arranged. So his grandmother was a matchmaker. We knew some auntie at the mosque who was a matchmaker, and they put us together basically. And my parents are very orthodox. So they were like, right, while you're studying, you should finish your degree and then get married. So I finished my degree and got married. And I was very young. And I did my pre-reg whilst I was married. But then I got pregnant with my first son. So to tell the story, I finished my pre-reg after I had my second child. And then I qualified. And then I just went back to work. And I stopped working about 5 years ago.
And was this 5 years ago when
you had...
Yeah. Yes. Okay, cool.
Yes. Yeah, I think everyone just agreed that she won't cope, even though I was doing 3 days a week. But we'd just moved house. And so we moved out of the family in-laws home, into our own place. And everyone's like, no, I think it's time you give it up. It's nice that you want to work, but really it's high time. Like, just pay attention to yourself and the kids and, see how you get on. And I did. And then I thought I'll go back to work. I left my place open. And within the year, I got pregnant with baby number 4. And I haven't gone back to work. But to be honest, I didn't enjoy dispense competition. I found it quite tedious and quite boring.
Well, that was my next question. How did you find the job? And did you want to go back to it?
If my boss will vouch for me, she'll like, no, this one didn't enjoy it. I was fine when I was there, but it was very tedious and it's quite boring. And it's just not me. I'm more of a talker, a changer. I like to do weird and wonderful things. If I'm in the mood, I'll paint. If I'm in the mood, I'll draw. I will talk. I could talk all day. And it just wasn't giving me anything in return. There was no, like, you get some people who love their job. My husband loves his job. I wasn't that person. And so now I'm looking for that person.
So you're looking for that person in you who is finding that passion, or?
So I'm looking for my passion. I'm not sure what it is at the moment. Earlier this year, I started off like a Instagram account it's called A Shy Lifestyle, with hacks like what to do with your kids, because there's so much information on the internet, but really you just want an easy arts and crafts thing just to keep them quiet for a little while. Or I wear the headscarf, so different ways to present yourself in a headscarf that isn't mundane. And I think a lot of girls take it off because for them it is mundane and it's just the same old boring styles, whereas I was showing girls how to do it. And I really thought that was my passion. But when push came to shove, it wasn't fulfilling. And I'm told, and I think it's actually true, I'm very much like my parents. We want to help a lot of people, be it, I don't know, running errands for someone who can't do it themselves, or offering aid to people, offering comfort to people, talking to people through their situations and giving them advice that maybe I picked up along the way. That's what I'm finding fulfilling at the moment. And I'm hoping it will continue in 2021, where I can actually put it more into practice, perhaps doing a hospice or volunteer work. We've got a lot of groups out there that do need the help. And I was thinking I just need to be a bit more confident within myself to try and reach out and say, right, this is what I want to do. I want to help you guys. Just tell me where and when, and I'll turn up. And I think that's me. I think that would be my passion.
What would it take for Shai to get her confidence?
It's a hard one.
Yes. But you know the answer.
That's just it. For me, I'm scared of failure and I just don't want to fail at it. I don't want anyone to point fingers at me. So if I was going in on a non-commitment basis, so tomorrow if I know it doesn't work out, I can just walk away, I think that would be easier for me to do, because I don't want to hurt anyone, but nor do I want to fail. So if, for example, I was, like, another idea I had last week was, my friends actually really did wet themselves laughing, was to be a Muslim, I don't even know the word for it. So we've got Muslim men who do a lot of lectures, but they're cool and they look the part, and they really inspire the youth. They've actually really inspired me. But I was like, in the women's sector, we don't really have someone young and cool to do it. I'm not saying I'm cool by no means, but I'm young. I do understand the youth. I want to help. I want to do youth groups. Just to keep, also, one thing that's hit home for me a lot is there's so many youth on the street, not just from my community, but just generally around when I look around. And I want to help them, but I just don't know where. So I think for me, to get me to where I want to be, I need to do a lot of research and a lot of reading and talk to people who have experienced this and managed to set things up. I'm sure there's youth groups that are in the council that I could actually speak to and see where I can help.
You said that when you were talking about this to your friends, what was the laughing point? The fact that there were loads of cool guys but there aren't any cool women and I'm cool. Was that the laughing point, or was it totally different?
No, that was the laughing point. Yeah. Because to be fair, to be a Muslim scholar, you would have to go to something called Hawza, which is like an Islamic setting, and they teach you literally all the rules about religion, and then they branch off, and it's a lot of hard work. And they just looked at me like, are you for real? Like, are you really going to go do this? And I was like, well, I don't know if I could go off and study so much, but I can help youth of today without having to be a very high-end intellectual scholar. And then if this kicks off, then maybe I can pursue it with more reading and more help from scholars and see if I can implement it and help my community to start with. Because I don't know about you and your Asian community, but in our Asian community, there is a taboo. It's always been a taboo, like drugs, alcohol, sex before marriage. And I know it's happening to a lot of youth as well. Not all, but it is happening to a lot of youth. So why don't we sit down and talk about it and have an Islamic perspective and a culture perspective, and then open up to the floor and have a safe haven for kids to come forward and talk about what's going on in their life?
Yeah, there's a lot that's unsaid, right?
Yeah.
But it's there.
Even from my age, from when I was growing up, it was like, no, you can't talk about it. No, you shouldn't talk about it. But I don't understand why. When our world is filled with it and all we want to do is protect our cubs, why don't we talk about it?
That's a big question. So you talk about background and culture. When you say Asian community, what specific background is that? Indian, Pakistani, or totally not Asian? What background?
I can only talk about my background, which I'm Muslim. I come from an African Indian background, and it's something called the Khoja community, which is a great community, vast opportunities for everyone alike. But I do think that we need to address open issues a lot more. We need to talk about the elephant in the room, really, and say, hang on, this is what's happening around us. How are we going to tackle it? What are we going to do about it? And it's all humans that we have a judgmental personality, but really we shouldn't judge each other. Like if I said my kid's XYZ or my friend said my kid's XYZ, we shouldn't really judge each other. We should help each other. It's like, oh, hang on, I did this. A common example, just shifting off the topic, would be 11 plus exams. No one wants to share information about what they did at 11 plus. But I'm like, hang on, why not? And I'm such a true believer, Umi, that if we help the next person, God's going to help us. It's not going to disadvantage anyone. Why can't we help each other? Why can't we say to each other, yeah, my kid does tuition here, I did this for this, or I do this for this. Why don't we help each other? There's so many communities that are so amazingly supportive of one another because they've helped each other, whether it's with finance, whether ideas, whether if it's, huddling together and supporting one another in darkest moments. We all need to do that. And I do think if we teach that to our children, we will have a brighter future.
You talk about judgment and how much we judge as humans. The human condition seems to be kind of very much about judgment, whether we're casting it on someone else, whether we're placing it on ourselves. Do you have a personal but religious perspective on judgment that you could share, or have you explored this?
So I haven't explored it as of yet on a religious aspect, but I do know that it is frowned upon in our religion because God does tell us be kind to all. He's always said that I think that's one of the basis of our religion, that be kind to everyone. Don't be a racist or a sexist or judge the next person on what they're going through because you don't know. You don't know what's happening behind closed doors. For me personally as well, I grew up in North London. My parents worked all the time to provide for me and my brothers. And, yes, there were times where I felt, okay, I'm alone, or my friends didn't really understand it because they had more siblings or siblings same age. But now looking in hindsight, when I'm still friends with these girls 20 years on, and some of them I've known since I was a little girl, it's funny because we don't judge each other. We think people are judging us, but they're really not. It just really depends who you're with and who's in your inner circle. And sometimes your mind plays tricks on you that, oh, this one's looking at me. Oh no, kids, like I've got toddlers. So I'm like, no, you can't do that in public. And I'll think, the next person in the supermarket is judging me, but are they really judging me, or they're just having a look to see what's going on because there's commotion? Is it just in my mind? But then you get some issues where, not personally, but I've known people that have been involved in, for example, drugs and alcohol, and other people have judged them, but they don't know the story, what led this person to take drugs or alcohol. There's a story behind it. And really, who are we to judge? Isn't God the only judge?
There's a question. I love that question. Who are we to judge? And yeah, isn't God the one to judge? Okay, I'm going to move on to just a bit of an out there question. Now, we're going to be looking at desert island. And so the question is, if you were on a desert island, what 5 essentials would you take with you? And just to add, I'm not sure if the kids and hubby count as essentials.
I was going to say them.
But I mean, let's kind of include them in that package. And then what other 5 things would you need? 5 essentials.
my best friends, because every girl needs a best friend. And the hubby and the kids are driving you up the wall. You need your best friends to bring you back down to earth, and so you don't really kill them or lock them outside the house. So I'd say my family, my best friends, and then my prayer mat. I tend, over the last 10 years, I'd say, I tend to turn to my prayer mat a lot. It calms me, it nourishes me, it gives me what I need, not only when I'm sad, but when I'm happy as well. I'll thank my Lord. But that's just me as a person, because I think I'm so privileged to have all that I had. When I look around, I'm driving around, I see people that don't have food or don't have money or not warm. And I have to say thank you, because I am. And I'm so much more better off than the next person. So I'll definitely take my prayer mat. The other one I'll take is a sheet, a long sheet. Not only to sleep on or to cover me, because I hate bugs, and I know deserts have bugs, but also it will keep me warm. It'll wrap me up. I can turn it into a sarong. I can sleep with it. I can lie down on it. It can shade me from the sun. So that would be my sheet. That 2, 3, 4. And my last final one is food. Because boy, if you don't feed the kids or the best friends, they're going to eat me. So I better take some food.
I like it. So there's multi-purpose. I love the friends. Oh my gosh. I never would have actually have thought of counting them as essentials, but I guess they are. I do like that. And food, yes. So what was lockdown like for you with kids at home and a never-ending supply of food?
Well, that never-ending supply of food, my hubby actually really learned where all the money was going, because all along he was like, but you spent X, Y again on food and another Tesco shop, and he just wasn't understanding where all my money was going each month. And then lockdown happened, and I said, right, we can't take all the kids shopping. Gross delivery, home deliveries are limited. So you can take yourself off to Tesco's, and good luck. Here's my list. And he actually saw how expensive food really is. Like fresh food, not the junk, because the junk's quite cheap, but all the essentials really good. So that was really good to actually get his perspective on it. Lockdown with my kids, we had good days and we've had bad days, I'm not going to lie. We've had days where we've all ended up crying, and we've had days where I've just probably slammed a few doors here and there. But essentially, it's been great. I mean, I've actually bonded with my kids. After having kids back to back, I didn't really spend as much as time as I thought I should have or thought I was doing, until we were all stuck together in a house and we couldn't leave. We made things useful, like going for a walk. We hardly do that because we drive everywhere. Or we taught the kids how to ride their bikes, something that was pending for ages because we were just so busy in our own lives. But I think the greatest one of all was when we used to have dinner together and we used to talk and laugh and share moments together, which I would go back to in a heartbeat, definitely.
Totally. I totally get that. The food bill, fresh food, and yeah, it's been very similar here as well. And I think at some points my husband was just like, okay, I swear we just went shopping. And I'm like, yes, all 5 of us at home, 3 meals a day, plus I don't even know how many snacks or how much baking there was going on. Oh, thank you for sharing that. So we talked about your hopes and dreams, but I'm intrigued on another level because I am, you will know, because if you've been listening to episodes, that a lot of the guests who come on have, usually kind of a spiritual or a religious event that has changed or has had a significant impact in their life, or a life event. What has been your kind of big event, whether it's spiritual, religious, or a life event that has had a significant impact and almost like resulted in a significant shift in your perspective, in your paradigm? Would you like to share?
For me, it was a big one, I would say. Both spiritually and religious, it had effect together at the same time, which was probably the shaker of all shakers for me. It was back in 2018. It was a few weeks before October half term, and very good friends of mine were going off for something that we call Ziara. It's a pilgrimage that we do. It's called Arba'een. You might have heard it on the news. It's basically over 1 million people get together and they have this love for our third Imam, Imam Hussein, and they literally walk from Najaf, where Imam Ali, our first Imam's buried, all the way to where the third Imam is buried, which is in Karbala. It's a walk over 3 days. It's by no means easy, but the country comes together to supply all your needs. So be it you want water, you get water on tap for free. You want food's on tap for free, sleepers on tap for free. You've got people massaging your feet because you are going to go meet this saviour who saved our religion, which is our third Imam. So when my friends told me they were going, they're like, listen, we're all going, our kids are going, you should come too. I was like, oh, but and my husband was going through, I think I just had number 3. No, I had number 4. Sorry, I just had number 4. So my little girl was a years old and he's like, how are we going to take her? And I was like, oh, we can do it. And I'm very optimistic about these things. Someone eggs you on. I'm very proactive. I'm like, yeah, we can do it. Don't worry, I'll sort it out. He's like, no, you take the older ones and you go. So I was like, oh, okay. I don't know. I've never travelled on my own without you. This is weird. And he's like, well, if you want to go, then that's your option. Spoke to my mum, cried for days, didn't know what I was going to do. I'm a bit of a baby, really. And I ended up taking the plunge and I took my kids, took my 2 older ones. And it was fantastic. It was absolutely phenomenally a great experience for all of us. I mean, me and my daughter, we shared a room with some other people that we met on the trip. And my son shared a room with friends of ours that we had gone with. And everything's fine. Nothing's out of order. Food's great. Being around, all the mosques, people, religious lectures, everything's great. And then comes the day that you have to leave to do the walk. Okay, no problem. Let's start. It's baking. It's like plus 30 degrees. It's hot. Both my kids are having nosebleeds. My son's with the men. They're walking like a bit ahead of us and he's having nosebleed over there. The girls are having nosebleeds over here. And I'm like, oh my God, someone save me. And we kept going. Then we get to this, they're like, right, this is where we're resting. It's called Mokib 1. And it's specific to my group where they've hired it for the night. And so we've camped out and I'm shattered. Literally, there's people sleeping everywhere on floors. And then my friend says to me, come on, there's a lecture. Let's go. And it's by this renowned scholar called Shaheda A. He's like worked at Harvard and all sorts. He's really great, young, professional, tons of knowledge. She's like, come on, you like his lectures, let's go. I was like, okay. So I put my daughter to sleep. I left her with one of my friends and I said, I'm just going across to have a listen. Went there. And when I say his lecture was phenomenal, it was on the imams, it was on the women who gave up everything to help, this battle of Karbala. It moved me. It moved me in ways that I can't even describe to anyone. They say that, your soul comes out of you and you just find this being within you. And I cried so much that night when they were all crying because the stories of a martyrdom where my mom goes and he fights this whole army. And he takes his children. He takes elderly men to help him fight. But there's only a few of them. And the lecturer goes on to say that, look, change yourself. You can do it. The lady of this imam comes to your home, even if you just do one sort of prayer in your home. It's not hard. It could be one person saying a prayer in the home. Why don't you do it? And I think from that day, I vowed that I'll do a prayer for this imam every year in my home, whether it's just me, whether it's 100 people, who knows? And thankfully, this year, I could do it. This year we had, even if it was just 6 of us, we just had 6 of us and we managed to still do it. And it's something that I hold very dear to me. I know that if I ever need anything, if I just say to God that, listen, with his sake, if you just fulfill my wishes are always fulfilled. And I know people look at me like, okay, she seems a bit crazy, but it's that level of spirituality, faith that's just embedded within me now. And I'm very lucky to have found it at the age of 36.
Thank you for sharing that. I was feeling the energy from your story. I could feel this kind of the momentum. So get this right, you're 36 years old.
Yes.
Or years young.
Oh, young. I'd go young.
I was going to say, let's do years young. And yet you've, in a kind of, I guess, let's look at it from a conventional sense. You've achieved a lot, if you see, I love it. Thank you for sharing that story. Can you describe what was the rest of the walk like after you've been to this lecture and you're almost like feeling absolutely...
Literally, you're mesmerised. So you're stuck.
Yes, beautiful word.
You're a quarter way there and now you're stuck for the night. So we've done the night, checked on my kids the next day. We've started again. The boys are like, right, we're leaving early doors because if you walk earlier, then it's less hot, really. Okay, no problem. Continued walking. And it was a hard walk, I'm not going to lie. But I had this goal that I just wanted to see the dome. And so basically, as you enter Karbala, you go over this like platform, this bridge, and you can see the dome in front of you. And it's probably the best thing that I've ever seen. The first is obviously the Kaaba, because that is just phenomenal. And it's huge compared to what you see on the TV. So when I went to Mecca a couple of years ago, that was amazing. But when I went to Karbala and I saw the dome, and they say when you see it, you ask for all your wishes and pray really hard for whatever you want, and you'll be okay. And literally, I saw people walking barefoot. I saw people crawling there. I saw my kids. My kids were like getting there and praying, and they weren't. My kids weren't moaning, which is a surprise because, we've come from the West, we've got every luxury there is. And here you are taking you to a land where there's not many luxuries. It's hot. I'm making you walk. But I was really thankful to the team at Spiritual Journeys, but also to my friends who encouraged me and I was so blessed to have them side by side me. Whilst I saw the dome, whilst I felt this passion would rise up within me. I remember going inside the hotel and telling the leader of the group, you know what, thank you. I couldn't have done it without you guys.
I love the fact that the kids were there and, kids are kids and they can understand the impact, the value, the connection of what they're doing, And I think sometimes adults underestimate how much children can feel these things, really get it. So thank you. Thank you for that. Moving on to the kids. Can you share any profound conversations or even I think kids say funny things all the time, but I think in the context of them saying funny things, I think they often have very profound wisdom that kind of comes out at these unexpected moments that really helps put things in perspective for us. Have you got any examples?
Well, I've got the biggest one that I hear quite often recently from my number 3. And this is probably when I'm getting upset about something or the other at someone else. Mummy, where's your manners? And I just look at him like, Kareem, you're 5. You can't really tell me where's my manners. So no, but at my school, we learned that even if you're upset, you mustn't shout or talk loudly. You must just use your explaining voice. So now he just looks at me like, yes, my explaining voice, Kareem. So it just makes me wonder, does shouting really get us anywhere? It really doesn't. My parents always told me, never fight fire with fire. It's better to just stay quiet and let the storm pass and then reflect upon it and tackle it head on. And I've got my number 3 to always remind me this because he'll always look at me like, Mommy, I need your explaining voice, Mommy. So that is one of them. And my other one is also, my kids always say, or sometimes they say in some sort of funny way, but don't tell us off in public, even in front of each other. The siblings don't even like to be told off in front of each other. They have to do it privately. And I can actually really understand that because I wouldn't like if someone took out my faults in front of someone else. And I think we need to give the new generation, the new kids to come, that level of respect.
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely worth thinking about for all those irritating moments in the shopping centre when my 4-year-old is trying to put everything in the shopping basket and I don't need it. Thank you. And I actually have a last question for you, which is, who have been 3 of the most inspirational people in your life, or kind of who have inspired you?
Oh, wow. Oh, God, I've got more than 3. Now I just need to pick them.
Come on then, we'll have 5. Go on then.
My parents really have, and I'll tell you why. They moved here when they were newlyweds. They lived in in-laws' home. They weren't very much educated, if I must say, but they made the best of what they had. And they always had a smile on their face. And now, at the age of 70, my dad doesn't only do volunteer work for the community, but my mum, actually, she does a phenomenal amount of classes. She taught herself how to swim. She does an Arabic class. She does yoga. And I just think, however old you are, there's no time to stop. You can actually learn so many new things. It doesn't matter. Age is but a number. So they really inspire me just to keep going and keep smiling. My other one would be my husband. We both, but him as well, we grew up in Streatham, so he grew up in Streatham, and he didn't go to any private school or anything, but again, he made the best of what he had. He made a career for himself, and it just shows me that if you are dedicated and you put your mind to something, you can do it, you can achieve it. You don't have to be a lot of people tell me now that your child will study wherever he wants to study or she wants to study. It's not about the school or private or state. It's if you're embedded, if you've got that drive, you will accomplish something. And he's a go-getter. He'll still always be looking for deals or striving to do something new. And it really does inspire me that I can do it. I just need to find my passion to get there to do it. My next self-inspirational people would be the lecturer that I mentioned. So Shaheda A. He is a phenomenal speaker. He's got a way with words, but also I would say the level of knowledge he has, and he always goes on about reading. And I think reading just opens up so many doors for us and really inspired me to start reading again. So that is my three. My other one would be my kids. They inspire me in numerous ways. I'd be having a bad day. It'll be that hug that they come, that compassion they have, the innocence they have. But it'd be something so simple that even when they fall over, they will still get back up and try it again. And I think if we as adults can do that, we'd be on to a winner. But yeah, I think those are my four. And then my last one would be my very inner circle. They all know who I'm talking about because a lot of the girls that are very close to me now have in one way or another faced a hardship or go through things. But again, it goes back to the same. They don't give up. They strive to do better. They put their energy into other ways. They pray, they read, they have a good laugh, but they're a support mechanism. And it's not easy to support when we're always complaining about something or the other, but we actually behave like good angels to each other. So we won't yeah, they were wrong. No, we'll actually say, listen, this is what's right, this is what's wrong. And that's a true inspiration to have. Because sometimes it's really hard to see the fine line or the silver lining. I think that's the saying, I'm not sure. And it's really hard to find sometimes. But friends put that into perspective and they really help you to find it.
Yes, I get that. I think friends are so important, so important. And I think it's amazing that you're still connected with a lot of your friends for years. And I think that is definitely something that I am so fortunate enough to have. Like, even though I don't see my friends every day, I'm still friends with people that I went to primary school with. My best friend so our mums were in hospital together at the same time when we were born, and that's my best friend for life. So I love the friend connection. I get that. Cool. One last thing. What is it going to take for you in 2021 to be the person that you're trying to become?
Support.
Mm-hmm.
Once I find my idea, my passion, if I just have my support, so my family, my friends, all rooting for me, which I think for them is sometimes hard because they just see me as a busybody. They don't see me as someone who can sit in one place and actually concentrate on one thing. But I think slowly they're actually seeing the different sides of me and how I'm changing over time. And I think when I do announce my idea, they will all support me openly.
Brilliant. Well, you're going to have to keep me posted because I am going to be waiting by the sidelines, eagerly waiting to learn
what I come up with next.
Yes. And, I think when you talk about the, fear of failure, that often becomes it's almost like a burden to carry. And especially when you have such an amazing giving soul, it seems like an unnecessary weight to have to carry. But
hopefully I'll overcome it.
Yes. And you will, because that's your aim.
Yes.
Thank you so much. How was that for you?
It was actually really nice putting my ideas out there. It was great for me, actually.
Good. Well, you know what? I know you've got an amazing friend support network, but if you ever want to have a chat, I'm always kind of open and, because I like I said, I come from quite a different perspective to a lot of these conversations. So if you want to just put it out there and work through something, feel free to just book it in and let's do it.
Definitely look forward to it.
I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Eternal Paradigm. Join me next time.